Okay, good morning or good afternoon, excuse me. This is a review session. Mark, could you please mute your mic? Thank you. I get feedback. When you have a question, go ahead and mute it. Turn it on. This is a review session at the end of our week 6 of our Accounting and Finance 600A class. It also takes the place of our weekend update video for this week number 6. And in this discussion today, I will talk for about 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes or so, on the assignment that you have due this week, due tomorrow, assignment number 4, and how that correlates to your project paper, which is due next Sunday, on picking a company from your selection at the beginning of our course and doing a credit analysis and a review of the company based on some information that you are to research. So that's what the nature of this review session will be. We also note that these two works are both have extensions. If you need extra time doing the assignment 4 or the case study paper, feel free to request an extension and it can be granted. The following week, the week after next, week 8, we have a final examination, which will be a paper that is due March 26th. But the final examination is more of a research paper, research analysis set by a few sections. It's not one major case or one major problem. It's a series of some analysis that review our year, review accounting, review managerial and financial accounting, and review capital and capital investment and finance questions. So it'll be all in one. And next week, I will give you an outline of what that final examination will be made up of, so you can plan on it and plan your studies for that. I will provide that next week. So that's where we stand heading into our end of week 6. So let's take a look at assignment number 4. Assignment number 4 is to take a financial analytical view of Apple Computer for the years 2019, 18, and 17. Now, some students have asked me, Mr. Assey, why aren't you doing 22, 23, and 22, 21, and 20? Well, a couple of reasons for that. I wanted to take Apple Computer pre-pandemic, for one, which is more of a normal business operation. And number 2, some of the data for 2022 is not really available. 2021, there's still some adjustments being done to Apple's book. So I thought it was cleaner for me, and also the data that I have is a little bit easier to read. If you looked at this attachment that I have to this assignment, a little bit easier to read the financial information than going to their 10K or going to their true financial statements. A little bit easier to read off the 2019, 18, 17 that I have for you. So that's the reason why. So what I want you to do in this assignment is basically answer these 5 questions, okay? By going to the financial statement data. The financial statement data is provided you with notice that these numbers are in millions of dollars, okay? So when you see total assets for September 28th, 2019, and that's an interesting point too. If you notice, Apple's fiscal year ends at the end of September every year, not December 31st, not March 31st, not June 30th, but the end of September. And September 28th happens to be the last business day of 2019 for Apple Computer. So that's something interesting. And number 2, notice it's in millions of dollars, meaning that $338,516,000 is the assets of Apple. No, it's $338,516,000,000. Just to avoid and keep the numbers fairly small and simple to understand, that's what Apple does, and what most major corporations do, and probably the corporation that you're looking at for the project paper will do that as well. So you have to be cognizant of knowing that they are in millions of dollars, and that's important. So this is the balance sheet of Apple Computer. This is the statement of operations and the income statement for Apple Computer, showing that they made a little bit over $55 billion in net income in 2019. They had an earnings per share. Now, let me explain what this means. Basic earnings per share is $11.97, and the diluted earnings per share is $11.89. And what does that mean? It means during the course of 2019, Apple either issued more stock or bought back some stock from the market, repurchasing, and that's thus the average of the amount of shares outstanding during that year changed, thus changing the earnings per share. I tend to always go with the basic calculation, earnings per share, which takes the beginning of the year and with the end of the year net income, so you get $11.97 a share. The comprehensive statement of income, which is just a breakdown of the comprehensive income of the net income of the company, which means the net income from the statement above, 256, and then any other foreign currency adjustments to market value of securities and foreign investments. That's what that means as an adjustment to that. And then finally, the statement of cash flows, which I consider the most important statement for Apple Computer, is the statement of cash flow, operating cash flows, investing cash flows, and financing cash flows, and show that the Apple Computer had a change of $24 billion in additional cash for the year, and so on. So that's an important statement as well. So there's the basic financial statements for these years for Apple Computer. And then I wanted you to answer and look up that data, be it from those statements provided, or even go to the website, or even go to databases that are involved with our class. Remember, we have a database called D&B Hoover's database, which you as a student can log into through the Wilson Library database function online and find information about Apple Computer or any company that you have. I'm going to walk through that in just a minute. So this will probably help you with your project paper due next week. But a variety of sources of information, but I want this is a paper to go and do a little research and find information about Apple Computer. Question 1, I'd like you to identify the amount of cash provided from operating activities on the cash flow statement, and how much cash did they pay out in dividends for those 3 years. Did Apple spend more or less to repurchase stock? And remember I said earlier, during the reason why you have basic and diluted earnings per share is something happened to the amount of shares outstanding during the course of the year. Did they buy back stock? Did they issue more stock? That question kind of is relevant to that one. What are some of the investing activities on cash flow? So go to the investment section, and what are they investing in? Using the 2017 as your base year, compute the trends for fiscal years 17, 18, and 19 for net sales and operating income. In other words, what percent did sales go up or down from 2017 to 2017 to 2018, 2018 to 2019? What percent did operating income, profit, go from those years? I want to see a trend analysis of those percents. And then compute for 2018 and 19 the current ratio, which is the liquidity ratio, the return on total assets, which is the percent of net income divided by total assets, the debt ratio, which is the percent of total overall debt to the assets of the company, and the profit margin, the percentage of net income to the total sales for that year. So I want you to come up with that information, either calculate it on your own or go to those variety of sources to find that information. So that's the assignment 4. It's good practice about how to look at financial information, sources to use for financial information. Naturally, you can use the sources that I've given you here as information, and however you want to do it, just put that in together. And remember, this assignment is not a paper. It's just giving me data and your analysis of that data. So show your calculations for these analysis. Show how you got this information. What are your sources for this data? Did you go and use not this, but other areas of getting this information? You need to include those references in your work. And this is due this Sunday, tomorrow, in Blackboard. And again, if you have any questions or concerns about that, please let me know. Now, I was talking about other sources, and let's take a look at that. As a student at the University of Laverne, you have access to information from the Wilson Library. So let me bring that up. Here's the Wilson Library, or excuse me, here's the University of Laverne website. Okay, makes sense. There it is right there. You've seen this probably many a times. If you go to this website and go to academics and see Wilson Library, it opens you up to the Wilson Library, which is where you have, as a student of Laverne, matter of fact, you do pay for some of these services through your library fees. I believe it's $150 a year or something of that extent. And this is where information, all kinds of information you can get from our library. Databases. I know some of you might have used them in other classes, but databases are a good source of doing research about specific companies, markets, whatever. Click on the database section of the library and you see a whole list of databases by subject. What you want to do is click on business. And we're interested in what is called D&B Hoovers. D&B Hoovers is a listing of many public and private businesses in the United States. Excuse me, giving all kinds of information about the company. If any of you need a source of information or want any help using library services as a business student in our MBA program, Linda Gordon is your contact at the Wilson Library. Here's her phone number. You can email her. You can even click on a Zoom appointment with her, and she can help you if you have any concerns in any class, not just this class, in any class to help you do research. Because as a master's and MBA student, research is a good part of your studies in many of the classes. So if you click on D&B Hoovers, if you're already logged in as a student, it'll come right up on you. Many cases they'll ask you to log in as a student, and you just use your email address and your password that you use in all your other areas. And you want to look in the top right corner and search for companies. So I'm going to search for a company that I have some interest in, Ford Motor Company. And up immediately will come a bunch of information about Ford. You want to take the top one. It's the very first one, which is the Ford Motor Company's analysis in this D&B Hoover's database. And as you can see, it's massive. It gives you the name of the company, even their website, all kinds of information about the company, company summary, company description, company history, company overview, what this business is all about, who they do business with, their bankers, a SWOT analysis of Ford Motor Company. If any of you know what a SWOT analysis is, this is a little bit, almost a year old, but still it's decent. Any news about Ford Motor Company in the markets? And then it gives you competitors, annual reports, SEC filings, 10Ks, 10Qs, which is quarterly filings, all that sort of stuff. And then it gives you financial information, a stock report of how the company's stock has done recently. The financial health or the credit rating of Ford Motor Company. And look at here, key ratios, net profit margin, current ratio, return on assets, all kinds of fun little data that can help you under the financial health of the organization. A financial report, a summary of their key revenues expenses, profits, taxes, all kinds of earnings per share, huge data. Their specific individual income statements, balance sheets, cash flows going back 5 years. Additional ratios on an annual basis, another place to get this. So as you can see, quite extensive information that's located in the Wilson Library database called D&B Hoovers. It can give you specific information. It can really help you get data about in finance and financial analysis. So this can be a source for your information for your project paper. So again, D&B Hoovers in the Laverne Wilson Library database, a very helpful hint if anybody who's studying finance, economics, marketing, management, and looking at the real world aspects of many companies in America. Another good thing to do. Okay. So don't forget Linda Gordon's there to help you as well. Tell her you're taking Professor Hasse. She'll go, why? No, but she'll be there to help you in the class. Okay. So that is assignment number 4. Now let's take a look at our project paper. Somewhat the reason why we do assignment 4 is to kind of get you prepared for the project paper. And here's the project paper, which is more writing and an analyst, but also writing, but using some of the aspects of what we talked about in assignment number 4. This is worth 20% of your grade. It's an APA format paper. Now, APA format, if you go to Blackboard and go to the project paper site, you'll now see a sample case paper in APA format. In case none of you have ever done APA format, it's a standard format system of writing research papers or analytical papers for a higher education, more specifically business. And I give you a sample of that paper, a paper. Not, I wouldn't take any of the information in this paper naturally, but it gives you a sample of the format. Also, I've put together a video explaining the APA format in case some of you would like to look at that. So if you look at that case paper sample that I've given you, here it is right here. Couple key aspects of what a APA format paper is. It's a title page, the name of your company that you're doing an analysis on, who you are, your name, your professor's name, the course's name, the date you're submitting the paper, probably March 19th. All right. Then you have a second page, which is called the abstract page. The abstract page is where you'll be explaining to me in 1 page or less what you're doing in this paper. What are you trying to figure out? What are you trying to find out? What is your overall conclusion? That's the abstract. And then the balance of the paper is breaking down your analysis. You don't have to worry about energy cost situation, but you might have financial analysis, breaking down your analysis of the key terms that you're looking for, your review of the information, your recommendation or conclusions. You might want to put in some charts or reference sections from some work, all pointing to your recommendation. If you do any interviews, if you ask me questions, you have consultations with people, you talk to your controller, you talk to some company representatives, whatever, list those consultations. If you go in the internet and use references for financial aid references like D&B Hoover's database, like the company's website, list those as references. Consultations or actual interviews and questions of specific individuals, and then the actual references of material that you used to supply the data and information of your analysis. And that's an APA format. Simple as that. References, consultations, the core of the writing, the recommendation, the abstract where you state the goals and the nature of this paper, and then finally the title page. Follow that format and you'll be good to go. Notice it's double spaced, not single spaced, double spaced. Okay, so that's the SAM, and that's located in the Blackboard file folder for project paper if you want to see that format back to the project paper. So the APA format it is. So what do you need to do? Well, you're going to take the company of your choosing, and remember for us, and if this has changed, please let me know because I have to prepare for your analysis. So I have to do some work myself. So here's our students in our class and each company you selected the first week of our course. If that has changed, please let me know of those changes. Please let me know if those are if you have changed any of those companies so I can prep. See, I have to go and do my homework and do some key analysis of this information. And so if that has changed, please let me know. Okay? So you are to take that information and go for the last 2 fiscal years of that company. So if it's Apple Computer, it'll be September of 22 and September of 21. If it's Ford Motor Company, it could be December 22, December 21. Now, because this is March, for some of our companies, 2022 data might be incomplete. If it is, just go to 21 and 20. Okay. If it's in, the audit might not be finished, they're still adjusting the financials, whatever. If that's the case, don't worry about that. Just go to 21 and 20. But make sure you have the correct fiscal year for the last 2 fiscal years. And then I want you to do a financial statement analysis, very similar to what you did in assignment number 4. I want you to take a ratio from an equation 1 from liquidity and efficiency, solvency, profitability, and market prospect sections of pages 512 to 517 of your textbook. Just one. So you're going to have one financial equation from each one of those 4. So that's 4 going for the last 2 fiscal years. And when you do that analysis, answer these questions. After you've gotten all that information, listed it, calculated it, whatever, answer these 3 questions. Based on this data that I ask you to complete. Now, don't base your answers on 1, 2, and 3 by other information, just on those 4 that you selected in this section. Has the firm improved its performance from the previous year? Is the firm managed efficiently? As a potential investor, would you consider this a stock you would purchase? Just based on those 4 equations. Don't say, well, the company had a change in management, so I wouldn't buy stock in this. Your analysis is just based on the information you find in those 4 equations. So after you do that financial statement interpretation, then you go basically and wrap everything up here. Let me read this. A financial statement analysis of the company of the student selection. Structurally, the students will present the case as follows. You'll identify these ratios per section. Ratio is going to, or the ratio or percentages will show 2 fiscal periods. Trend in order to accurately develop performance patterns. So you're looking over 2 years. The financial statements to be the source of ratio calculations could be in the recent 10K filings. It could be in their financial statements or using the database or analysis that I've told you about today. Use charts, graphs, tables, or are strongly encouraged to present the data for analysis. You might want to summarize those 4 equations in a spreadsheet, and then you paste that spreadsheet columns and rows to your paper. Finally, within each class, a conclusion on the overall financial performance will be presented. You answer those 3 questions in relationship to those 4 equations. Within the overall context of the ratio analysis, there must be a logical integration of the significant accounts identified in the financial statement review to select the ratios. In the overall presentation, the key concept is to remember that you should focus on why or how come or what caused and not the what was of the ratio trend analysis. In other words, why did Apple's current ratio, Ford Motor Company's current ratio went down or up? Why did the debt ratio change? What happened to the profit margin? What happened to whatever you use here as your analysis? Not just, oh, it changed by 5%. Thank you. No. Why in your interpretation? How come you think those trends changed? What caused those trends to change in your interpretation? Not just say, oh, the debt ratio went from 40% to 35%. I'm done. You do that, you're going to fail. Debt ratio went from 40 to 35, and here's my interpretation on why that happened. The statement of cash flow says they incurred some more cash flow, so they paid off some of their debt. The company thought they needed to clean up their balance sheet a little bit, or whatever. But I need to know why those trends, how come those trends, what caused those trends. That's your analysis. And many times students forget about that, and then they get a not very good grade. This is NBA work here, your interpretation of what you find and calculate in your analysis. What's going on there? The why, the hows, the whats. Okay, that's a key to your success of this paper. Then once you do all this based on those 4 different levels and those 4 different analysis, the student will then present an overall conclusion based solely on the overall financial performance you selected, those 4 areas, on the relative strength of the company. Finally, based solely on the financial performance of the company as presented in your analysis, the student will recommend selling, hold, or buy on the company stock. So there you go. That's the analysis. With charts, graphs, the title page, the abstract page, reference page, 5 pages is not too much on this. But you can go up to 10 pages. Don't give me massive amounts of data and analysis. Keep it simple, keep it to the point, keep it precise on what you're trying to say in regards to your recommendation and conclusions about those questions asked in this paper. Notice APA format, double space, Times New Roman 12-point font. I'll take off if I don't see double spaced Times New Roman font 12-point in your format. Okay? If you have any questions on this, please feel free to let me know. Even if you want, and I will allow this, if you want to send me a draft of your analysis or how you're going about it, please feel free to do that in the next week. I'll be happy to comment on it, happy to point you in the right or wrong or the proper direction of what I see you're doing. No problem on that. Please feel free to send me drafts. Remember, this is due next Sunday, March 19th. So you got plenty of time to do the review, kick out an outline of what you want to say, get the do this analysis, try to spot trends, try to see something that you can interpret and understand, pay particular attention to what I'm talking about here in these 2 paragraphs of your case. I want you to be specific to the point, not general. That's NBA work. And please feel free to send me a draft and I'll be more than happy to comment on it. And extensions are available on this paper. Okay. So going forward, after you complete this work, this is where we'll be in our Accounting Finance 608 class. Assignment 4, you're posting about Apple Computer this evening or Sunday evening, your case paper, which we just talked about, 20% of your course grade, which we just talked about, and the final examination. This coming week, you'll get an outline of how that final examination is going to be set up. It's not a multiple choice short answer calculation examination. It's a graduate school final examination. Research, interpretation, study, analysis, conclusions. Basically build around 3 sections: financial accounting, managerial accounting, and capital budgeting and investment analysis. That's the 3 sections of the final. And I will give you an outline this coming week and help you prepare for that and look forward to that in the coming. It's will be posted next weekend on March 19th. So I'll give you that form. I'll give you the outline and format of that during the week of the coming week, and then we begin this posting and begin that study of work a week from basically this weekend. All right, so that's our review. That's the setup. We have one student attending our review session today, so I now open up that session for any questions. Mark, do you have any questions or concerns about what I've talked about today?
No, I'm okay for now. Thank you, Professor Hudson.
Okay, Mark, thank you. Thank you for coming. I know this is not an easy, Saturday is not easy, especially if you have families. That's why I'm recording this session. And I will put this available this later on this afternoon to Blackboard, so all of you can read it, look at it, especially in regards to the project case paper. I think that might clear up some confusions on some of our students. Okay, thank you, Mark. And so that's our review session. Again, I'm available if you have specific questions or drafts. I won't take any drafts of your work for assignment 4, sorry, but I will take any drafts or any questions you have about your analysis for the project paper, and we'll go forward in that. Look for my week 7 video talking about budgeting and capital investment, which will be posted on Tuesday of this week, coming Tuesday, and as we move forward into our last 2 weeks of our class. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your attention, and we'll see you down the road next week. Adios.